We won't take too long. We'll be shorter. Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunattu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namah Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram. I forgot the first verse. That's not good, but that's okay. All right. So we are on, where are we? The context is? We are in Shartak Sampattihi, right? We are in Sama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, and Shraddha and Samadhan. So we are in the topic of Shraddha. Wow. And the verse goes, Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satyabuddhyavadharana Sa Shraddha Kathita Sadbhihi Yaya Vastu Upalabhyate. This is verse 15 in my and verse 26 probably in your book, in case you found it already. And perhaps you can figure out the meaning, right? What does it say? Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya means Shastrasya. So Asya is the genitive, the sixth case of the Shastra, of the Guru. Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Avadharana. So he's saying that Satya Buddhi Avadharana, a conviction. Avadharana is believing it to be true. Avadharana is considering the flow to be going at a specific location. Avadharana, that it's Satya Buddhi. Sa Shraddha Kathita Sadbhihi. Sadbhihi are the people who are familiar with Sat, or you could say the wise people. Sadbhihi Kathita Shraddha. They call it Shraddha. And Yaya, by which Vastu Upalabhyate. Upalabhyate is gaining and or is known in this case. And Vastu is, we've talked about Vastu, will be used, Sad Vastu will be used throughout the Vivekachudamuni for Brahman. So he's saying that Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satya Buddhya Avadharana. belief in the words of the Shastra, belief in the words of the Guru. This is referred to as Shraddha by the wise people, and by this you can gain the knowledge of Brahman. Done. Is there something hard to swallow in this? Right? I mean, is this tough to follow? Say, if you're a kid, you'll say, no, there's nothing tough to follow, right? I have belief in Shastra, I have belief in the Guru Vakya, so I'm good. Is that work for you? Yeah, yeah, Guru is going to be defined in a little bit. Guru will be defined.
Practical implementation is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, how do you, I guess the meaning of the word is, what is Shraddha? That's the question, right? What is Shraddha?
Belief in what's like belief is belief literal translation of Shraddha or not?
Such a difficult word, right? Perhaps we've come across one of the most difficult words in modern understanding. What is faith? What is belief?
Yeah, this is in like 7. I mean, those things, like which Lord Shiva said to Parvati, the 7 rules of success or whatever.
Shraddha is one of them.
Shraddha is one of them.
That's fine, but what is Shraddha, right? I want to know what is Shraddha. Am I asking you to believe? So you're supposed to believe the words of the Shastra, you're supposed to believe the words of the Guru, and that is referred to as Shraddha. So if you don't believe it, that means you don't.
Sincerity?
Sincerity, okay, I can translate. Sincerity in what though, right? Sincerity in the words of the Shastra.
In the goal that you have.
In the goal that you have. So here, why is Shraddha complex? Is it complex? First of all, is it difficult to understand what it could possibly be? You're looking up something, so you're gonna.
Sincerity is what I'm looking. Exactly what does it mean?
Sincerity is perhaps not how Shraddha is translated. Shraddha is translated as faith. So, the best way to explain Shraddha would be.
Does Shraddha translate like dharma? The word dharma actually doesn't translate to religion, right?
Shraddha has a specific interpretation or a specific meaning, because you can have. So, let me put it differently. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whether translation does exist in English or not.
I'll do this again. Okay? I'm going to go through a set of motions, right? I was sitting like that, and I just did this. I had Shraddha that my legs were going to take the weight of my body, motion was going to happen, and I stood up. But I didn't really have Shraddha in that was going to happen. But the moment I said, I want to get up, I said, I didn't really have Shraddha. I said, okay, I have Shraddha, that it's going to happen. That mechanism by which I stood up, and that mechanism again by which I am sitting down, I have no explicit stated belief in it.
Estimate.
Yeah, there is no explicit, it's almost unconscious. As I reach out with my hand and I want to grab something.
The word your hands will work is your.
It's not even verbalized, it's a subconscious Shraddha. And the only time you realize is, like I was telling, my daughter has broken pinky, right? So she realizes now all the things that you can't do when you don't have a pinky that works. And she will tell you, so important, because you can't do so many things because you have a broken pinky. Now, until you have that broken pinky, you will not realize, because you have Shraddha, the pinky will do what it is supposed to do. Is that the Shraddha that I'm talking about? Not quite. Shraddha is so complex to work with. And then, of course, we live in a Western society where people will say, we'll talk about faith. What is your faith? You may have come across that question before. What is your faith? Okay, I don't know how to answer that question. What is my faith? Do I believe in Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh? Do I believe in Ganesh? Do I believe in Durga? Do I believe in all of them? Do I believe in the gods? Do I believe in the worship of the gods? Do I believe in karma? Do I believe in dharma? Do I believe in... What is my faith? That's the question, right? And then there are traditions that are entirely faith-based. So they will tell you that, this is the way, this is our belief. And we are going to tell you this sentence is what we believe to be true. And if you don't believe it, you are a non-believer. And if you're a non-believer, you are not allowed to have access to the results that come out of having a specific belief. Fair enough, right there. And do you know how I the interesting translation of the word non-believer? I'll give you an Urdu translation of the word non-believer. It's kafir. That's right. So kafir is someone who is a non-believer. Non-believer in what? It does not believe in whatever is the edict, whatever it is that you believe in. If I don't believe in it, that would make me a kafir. You've heard this word before, perhaps not connected the meaning of it, of what it is. So you ask a Hindu, do you have Shraddha? He'll say, absolutely I have Shraddha. In what?
I think this is about the belief that the Shastra or the Guru has the truth.
You could say that, but then
It should
that just transfers the words to the
be
Shastra.
relative to something, right?
Yeah, belief always has to be in something, right?
So is it like action with devotion, some related to something like that?
So action with devotion, or I'll put it
You
differently.
have the willpower to devote yourself for some cause.
That's a different kind of Shraddha. That's the Shraddha that the law of karma works. So if I have faith that the law of karma works, then what I would say is that if I work hard, I will get the results. But even the law of karma will tell you, I'm sorry, I cannot guarantee it because there is an adrishta phalam part of it which can come and mess it all up. Because there is an adrishta phalam that may come and interfere with the current action that you are performing. So you are driving towards a destination. You are going to, okay, let's do this. You are going towards the Lafayette Transitional Housing in order to volunteer for the day. You're going there for a good cause. There is nothing that you want. You just want to go there and you want to serve for 1 hour. You want to serve food and whatever. And you're driving there, and bang, somebody comes in and hits you. And you were not the person who was drinking. You were driving carefully. The other person, maybe they didn't see you. They were texting. There's so many reasons by which accidents can happen. There was no ulterior motive in your action. Was purely good, but it was intercepted and it was not allowed to move forward. And then you will say, well, should I stop believing in the doctrine of karma? The doctrine of karma will tell you, I told you that there is a possibility that this may not come true because daivam is always needed. Fortune is always needed for the results to come through. So you can say, I have faith in the doctrine of karma. Fair enough. That's faith in the doctrine of karma. Then you can say, I have faith in dharma, that whatever, if I do a dharmic action, I will have reasonable results. I'll have a reasonable future. So for example, if I do puja, I may make an assumption that based on some authority, I'm assuming that this is going to accrue good karmas to me. So then the question becomes, where is this doctrine of karma written down? And then that brings the question of, where is it written down? Who has talked about it? And where can I go and find this doctrine of karma so that I can say, I have faith in it? But when you turn over to the books that are talking about it, they will always tell you that you should have Shraddha in the Shastra. So what exactly do you mean by Shastra? And what exactly do you mean by Guru Vakya within this context? So in this context, what it is going to come down to is that Shastra is referred to the one that explains Atma or Atma Vichara is the one that talks about Brahman. So the Jnana Kanda portion of the Veda is referred to as Shastra. What do I mean by that? So we've talked about this before. The Veda has two parts. There is the Karma Kanda portion, there is the Jnana Kanda portion. The Karma Kanda portion has many different rituals that you can perform to get results in the beyond, or sometimes in this world. Is there any evidence or proof of that? And the answer will be no. It's just written in the Shastra that if you perform this particular ritual in the correct order, you will get the following results. Now, you can choose to have faith in that, or you can choose to not have faith in that. That is entirely up to you. You can perform the experiment and you can say whether the results, did I follow the instructions properly and did the results accrue to me or not? And even there, Shastra will tell you, okay, if you follow the ritual properly, you're going to get a specific result. But that's not the Shraddha that Shankaracharya is talking about here. That can't possibly be because what was our subject matter? Our subject matter was always Atma. Our subject matter right from the beginning has been an understanding of Atma, an understanding of moksha. So that means that what Shankaracharya is talking about here is Shraddha towards the Jnana Kanda portion. What does it mean to have Shraddha towards the Jnana Kanda portion of the Shastra, or of the Shastra itself? What does it mean? Have you ever taken a course and you bought a book and then you read it and you sort of make an assumption that what's written in this book is going to be correct, right? I mean, and how many books have wrong examples in them? Almost all published books nowadays, if you look for it carefully enough, you will find typos, you'll find mistakes, and so on and so forth, right? So, but even there, when you are doing a study, you are making an assumption that I have faith pending discovery that I will understand what is being talked about within this text. That faith is almost implicit. It's not, you've not explicitly sat down and said, I have faith that this book
It's
is
just
going
like
to
if I eat a gulab jamun, I have faith.
then
that-
it's going to
yeah.
work. And then if you are sick, it won't work. But that was not because of the gulab jamun. There was no problem in the gulab jamun, and there was no problem
Yeah.
in the tongue.
Yeah.
There was a problem where the mind was sort of blocked from being able to access that result. So Shraddha really means, in this case, what it's going to, what it applies to, or what it refers to, is Shraddha towards an understanding that the Shastra will reveal what I am studying as the subject matter. Is that a fair enough belief? So if you ask a
Yes.
Hindu, what is your belief or what is your faith? You say that, yeah, I have faith that the Jnana Kanda portion of the Veda reveals the true identity of the self. It reveals the identity of Atma. It reveals the identity of Brahman. And I need to understand it through study and analysis, through Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, through listening, through reasoning, and through contemplation. I will understand what is talked about in the Shastra. I'll understand what the teacher is talking about with reference to the Atma.
Professor, in this context, can I say that Shraddha is the reason behind your actions, someone's actions?
Shraddha is always given, right? In any action that you do, you assume that
Yeah.
if I pursue
Yeah,
this,
it's
I'm
always
going
the
to
reason.
get the result.
It's the first thought kind of.
It's sort of
Implicit.
an assumption that I've
Yeah,
made, I'll
yeah.
get the result.
Yeah.
But when Satbihi, the wise people are saying Sa Shraddha Katita, they're saying Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadharana. Satya Buddhi Avadharana. They're saying understanding that what is going to be revealed here is what I'm after. That faith is referred to as Shraddha. So,
What are you?
The goal.
of the reality of the self is going to be revealed by the Shastra. So does that work for you? Do you feel that you have that kind of Shraddha?
No, we want to know the truth.
We want to
obviously.
know the truth, but as any good student, it is pending discovery, right? Fair enough. It has not said that you have to believe in it and that's it. It doesn't say you believe in it
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
the end of the
obviously.
story. No, it
Yeah.
says you need to believe,
We need to act.
you need to read, you need to understand. But while you are undergoing the process of reading and discovery, they're saying, give us a chance. Give us a chance so you can appreciate what is being written. So the mind of a skeptic approaching the document, approaching the Jnanakanda, may or may not work. But the attitude of a student will always
So
work.
basically, we have to endure during the process. That's what it's
Correct.
asking.
Like when you solve, would you say that?
You can question, but you cannot doubt. Is that what kind of fits in?
So even the doubting mind is absolutely fine as long as you appreciate the fact
You
that
don't give
it's
up.
not clear to me yet. I'm still
Yeah,
fine.
that's what questioning is.
You could say that.
Doubting is like, okay,
Doubting the whole text itself, that doesn't work because then you won't be able to study.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what.
Then you
Yes.
won't be able to practice these
Then
things.
you won't be able to practice, then you won't be able to discover because you're saying, I don't know if I should be doing this or not. That is useless. But if you're saying, I want to understand and I'm stuck on this one point and this point is not clear to me. So I need to find a guru who can explain it to me so that I say, yeah, I understand now, my doubt has been cleared, my questions have been answered, and I will be able to understand. So that is Shraddha. So now, if I ask you, what is your faith and what do you believe in? The answer is kind of strange than other traditions because I don't believe in a thing. I don't believe in a specific thought.
Yeah, it's always with respect to something.
And I don't believe in any axiom for that matter. All I believe in is that I can study the Shastra and I can understand what the Shastra is talking about. It's a different belief. You got to understand the difference between
Yeah.
faith
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
referred to by other
Yeah.
traditions,
Yeah.
beliefs as
Yeah.
what they're saying is what is written
The thing is
here,
that they-
you must believe.
They may be believing in something imaginary, but we are believing in something that is
So
in
what
front of our eyes.
the Shastra is saying, no, you study me. and you understand me,
Yeah.
it is inviting the student to come. Shraddha is the attitude of the student. That's that's why I once said there is something really, really beautiful about having the mind and heart of a student, because the mind and the heart of a student is such that they give you the opportunity to talk. They say, okay, I will listen to you and I will see if I understand it, and if I don't understand it, I'll read it again to see if it makes sense or not. How do I understand what is missing in my interpretation, or what is missing in my understanding of what the Shastra is revealing? So very different kind of faith. Do you see the magnitude of difference? I'm not saying that this is the Shastra, whatever it says is true, and I don't need to think about it anymore. Right? It's not saying that this one sentence has been said, so absolutely this is what it says, and I'm going to implement it. That's not what Shraddha is. Shraddha is neither belief, so definitely it is not blind faith. There is a difference between blind faith and an attitude of a student. The student doesn't have blind faith. If the teacher says something, if I were to tell you and hold this up and say, this case is white. If I told you, no, you have to believe Guru Vakyas. No, you have to believe it. Guru Vakyas. You will say, come on, it doesn't work. That's the attitude of the student. He says, no, I see the evidence. If you're going to explain something to me, teach it to me. I will understand.
Make me see it.
Make me see it. Help me appreciate. Help me understand the meaning of what it is that the Shastra is trying to say. Help me understand what the Shastra is revealing to me. But please, don't ask me to believe that this is white. That does not work. And no amount of Guru Vakya can make me say that this is white.
Unless you define white as black.
Which defeats the whole purpose. I'm using a loophole to make you say this is white. For the next 5 minutes, this is going to be white, right? So it's very important that this is perhaps one of the hardest topics for us to appreciate, because we live in a world where faith is colloquially defined by other traditions. And when people meet Hindus, they either they will tell you, they will give you your faith. They'll tell you that, don't you believe in cows are sacred? We believe all animals and human life, all life is sacred, is what we believe in. But they're trying to define it for you because they're struggling with what exactly is your faith.
And even the Persians named us Hindu. There was
Correct.
no,
There was no
yeah.
word like that to begin with, right? So they're trying to understand. It's like trying to fit something within the balance, within their own model.
Yeah.
Where do you fit? And if they look at you long enough, or look at us long enough, they will have only one word for us. This is a kafir. He does not believe in anything.
Yeah.
Because if you ask him, do you believe in your Ishvara? Yes. And no, pending discovery. Right? My belief is in, my Shraddha is in the fact that I can study the Shastra, I can understand.
So we're like, we don't know. That's why we are studying this.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's quite interesting. And
we are explorers.
So when these discussions happen, and I can imagine perhaps hundreds of years ago when these discussions happened, it was very difficult for people of different traditions to appreciate the Hindus, because they don't seem to believe in anything, and they seem to believe in everything. It's like, do you believe in this? Yes. Do you no. What exactly is it that you believe in? Here to explain, and Shankaracharya sets it up. He says, Shraddha is very clearly defined as having faith that the Shastra and the teacher are going to reveal to me what it is that the subject matter that I am pursuing, which is the knowledge of the self. It's a matter of Shraddha in study, so to speak, that I will study it and I will understand it. That's very different than Shraddha in a blind belief in a thought without examination. Mm-hmm. The Shastra will never ask you to believe that this is Brahman. Never will it ask you to believe that Atman and Brahman are the same.
They say that just test it out for yourself, experiment, explore.
Understand. Yeah. Understand. So Shastra is never finished until you have understood it fully. So Shastra will say, no, if you don't understand it, let's look at it from a different angle. Let's look at it from another angle. Let's try and understand what it is that the subject matter is. So very interesting, very different approach to Shraddha. In fact, it's an approach that that is actually easier for us to understand now that we are so involved in, you could say, studies of various kinds. So since we are all students, we understand Shraddha to a certain extent. It's like I read someone's paper, right? Do I have Shraddha that they did the experiments properly? I have to have Shraddha while I'm reading it. Otherwise, I can't even complete reading it.
Yeah,
Fair enough?
yeah.
I have to give them the benefit of the doubt till I read it, till I understand it, and maybe I will get it. And maybe in that case, there may be a
Yeah.
mistake.
Actually, now I realize it, and I'm not able to put it in words. Actually, yeah.
Yes,
There's a very subtle, yeah.
And on the other hand, what Shastra is saying is that not only do you have to give me the benefit of the doubt that reading me you will understand it, but you'll have to give me the benefit of the doubt that I will reveal the truth of Atma. And any other notions that you may have are not going to be correct. That if you haven't seen my vision, then whatever it is that you're saying is not right. Study it again.
Yeah, the thing is that if we don't read it wholeheartedly, then we won't obviously get anything out of it.
Exactly. So Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadharana. Satya Buddhi. That what is revealed in this text, what is revealed in the Shastra is not clear to me. So there are different ways to go about doing this, right? Okay. We'll understand it this way. I can right now see. I see the color of the room. I see the color of the desk. I see the words. I can remove my lenses. I'm wearing contact lenses. I can remove them. And as soon as I remove them, after that, I won't be able to see very clearly everything. I'll be able to, even if it's close, I can see it. If you move it back, it's all blurred, right? So where is the issue? The issue was in my eyes. In this case, there was an issue with the object which is being used, the instrument of knowledge was deficient, you could say. And if the instrument of knowledge is deficient, then the knowledge that it will provide to you will be invalid. Fair enough? So in order to acquire any knowledge, I need an instrument of knowledge or an instrument of discovery. If I want to sense the temperature in this room, I need to first define the concept of temperature, which I'm going to define relative to the boiling point of water, and then I need a sensor by which I'll be able to say what it is right now. There's so many things related to being able to define knowledge of anything.
And we define things only through comparison.
In this case, in the Vyavaharika world, you can only define
in the physical world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And luckily, your mind is also comparative, so it gives you the answer. But the fact of the matter is, if your instrument of learning is flawed, your knowledge may be
if it's biased, then it's flawed. Yeah.
And what Shastra is saying is, you have to give me Shraddha that this instrument of learning is not flawed. And if you are not arriving at the proper understanding, read it again. You have not yet. So besides that instrument is the mind that is sitting in front of it, that is understanding and interpreting it. And what it's saying is that, please, you have to give me the benefit that this instrument works. And this instrument gives you, when it says, Aham Brahmasmi, or wherever it reveals, however it reveals, and it will reveal in the upcoming verses, it will say, it is going to say Aham Brahmasmi, and you can say, clearly, I am not the universe. I'm not.
Yeah.
Who says I am? And the Shastra will say, no, you are. And you say, okay, there is a problem here. The Shastra is telling me one thing, and my experience is something else. So how am I supposed to have Shraddha? Shastra is like, you listen to me. Listen to what it is I mean when I say you. I don't mean the Pranmaya Kosha. I don't mean the Manmaya Kosha. I don't mean the Vigyanmaya Kosha. I'm talking about the you that is aware of all of those koshas. So the Shastra is saying, if you go on the surface of what I'm trying to say, you may not understand what I'm talking about. So you'll truly have to understand. And in that process of discovery, Shraddha, the Shraddha is having belief that the Shastra will reveal the truth. Guru Vakyasya is going to reveal the truth. This is central to Shankaracharya. This is central to the understanding of the Veda.
They show us the mystery climax first, and then they say just go through the movie.
Yeah, so he's saying, please understand the fact that if it's not yet clear to you, the flaw is yet in your understanding. And your understanding needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Just like if my eyes are not working well, they're going to give me a distorted evidence of what the knowledge truly is. And if I put on my lenses back on again, yeah, wait, it looks okay to me. So understanding the words of the Shastra, which is referred to as the Shabda Pramana. Pramana is that instrument that reveals knowledge. And there are different kinds of instruments that reveal knowledge. There is Pratyaksha Pramana. My sensors in front of me, I can tell what you look like because I have got eyes. I can tell what you sound like because I have got Pratyaksha Pramana. Well, I can add another sensor to myself and I can be able to tell you what the temperature of the room is because I have a sensor that I've added. And I have some interpretation of what it means as far as the temperature goes. I can have pramana that is based on anumana, inference. I can use my knowledge, my understanding of the world to draw an inference upon what's happening. The very fact that this phone cannot penetrate this solid means that this is a solid. It has the ability to support it. So I can draw inference. There are different types of pramanas that I can look at. Similarly, Shastra or the Veda is a Shabda Pramana. It is a source of learning in the form of words. And what Shraddha we're talking about is Shraddha in Shastra as a Shabda Pramana, as a instrument that will reveal the truth with the help of words.
So basically you're saying the truth is in it, that's what one has to be sure of. And then after that, now, if the truth is not being revealed, then one has to question other things.
You have to question your understanding.
Yeah.
That means that the process is not yet
process
complete.
you are going through is not, you can only question that, this then goes unquestionable.
I'll put it a little bit
Or
differently.
this has the truth and the flaw is not there, basically. The flaw is somewhere in the process,
The flaw is in the mind.
in the mind or in the
Yeah.
process.
So the words have not yet been fully understood. The tatparya is not clear yet.
So now I have a bigger doubt.
Hmm.
So what is the real tattparya which it is trying to reveal? Because I can say that I make certain assumptions. After going through it 5 times, and I said I have understood what the tattparya is, and I have shown that this and what I have understood that's true, and which basically says that the truth what I have understood is that if I pluck all his hairs one by one, that's the best thing I can do to serve the humanity. And so I start plucking his hair. That's my understanding.
Does the Shastra say that?
Yeah, I have understood that. The Shastra says that.
So, of course, the final, what is finally revealed is in the action. Of course, the actions definitely do reveal. And remember how we started this text. How did the student get to this text? They were looking at a source of knowledge of the self. They were not looking at a source of knowledge that is going to pluck other people's hairs. Right? The source, you have to have a source of knowledge that is appropriate to the question.
Whether I have understood myself or not, that's the
If you have arrived at that question, then this is the answer. If you're looking for the best source of having the best jokes in the world,
yeah. Okay.
then you should go to YouTube, right? And search that.
Yeah.
Shastra is saying, I'm not going to tell you how to laugh. Shastra is not telling you how to live your life. Shastra is telling you, if you have asked yourself the question, who am I? And you're looking for the true answer to that, I'm in business. Because I'm going to now give you the answer.
So the thing is, again, about who am I? So basically, I can also have a different understanding of who am I. So I'm saying that there is only one understanding of who am I. And once you reach that one understanding, then only you will know that I've reached that understanding. If you have reached any other understanding, basically you yourself will be confused, or you yourself will not be able to say that I have understood.
Fair enough. That is correct. That is a correct understanding of what the Shastra is saying. Shastra is saying when you come to the topic of Atma, when you come to the topic of Brahman, what is revealed here is absolutely, undeniably true. Now you need to understand it. You need to study it till you understand it. But once it is clear to you, it will be very clear to you what has been explained to
And
you.
then only it will be clear.
It's same to how like we read a paper multiple times, because we don't get it once. Yeah, and we don't lose the hope that we don't
and
say that hey,
maybe
this
something-
paper is bad,
And that's an ordinary thing.
Yeah, that's an
Here the
ordinary thing.
subject matter
Yeah.
is you.
Yeah.
And what Shastra is saying is that so what can a pramana reveal? What can a source of knowledge reveal? Can it reveal to you something that is infinite? What kind of pramana can reveal to you something that is infinite? Is it going to be known or is it going to be unknown to me when it is revealed to me? And the answer to that, the Shastra says, wait a minute, and you can read the conversation in the Upanishads themselves. They'll tell you, well, it can never be known, and there has never been a point in time where you have not known it. So what is it trying to tell you? It's trying to tell you you need to understand that it will never be known as an object.
Yeah.
Whatever is your conception of an object, an item, of any vritti, it will never ever take the form of a vritti, because it is always present as the subject who is aware of the vritti. And that subject is never far from you. The distance between that subject and you is zero. And so what the Shastra is saying, it is neither unknown nor it will ever be known as an object. And so it sets up so what's happening here is that the Shastra, the Shabda Pramana, has to reveal something that cannot be compassed by words. The Shastra itself says that words return from there without having touched it. Because it's true. Words define objects. And it is never an object. So how is it that the Shastri is going to go and turn around and bring it back? And that's why these things are, it can never be put in words, it can never be seen, it can never be heard, and yet words are going to reveal it. If it was truly something that can never be seen, never be heard, never be understood, how can words reveal it? And Shastri says, it will. You have a little bit of Shraddha and it will. Because it's not something that is unknown to you. If it was something that was unknown to you, then it would never be able to.
It's like Hanuman and Jamant. So basically, we are Hanuman, we know it. Jamant,
that's the essence of that story. That's the essence of that story. Where Hanuman had forgotten the true. So it's a slight my interpretation of it. The way I understand it, Hanumana was taught Atmagyan, Brahmagyan by sun god Vivaswan himself. In chapter 4 of the Gita, Krishna Bhagavan says, I taught it to Vivaswan. Vivaswan is the sun god who taught it to Ikshvaku, who taught it to Manu, and he gives the whole tradition line. But one of the sun god's disciples is Hanuman. And Hanuman sits in his chariot, and then he is his official student. He gets to hear from Vivaswan himself what is Brahmagyan. But from a huge turn of circumstances, he's also cursed that you will forget all of this. So he forgets all of this until he meets Ram. And Ram is the first one who reveals it to him. And then Jamvant reminds him of his siddhis. Ram reminds him about Atma, and Jamvant reminds him about his siddhis, and then he manifests them all. So the understanding of having a little bit of Shraddha, what exactly are we talking about here? So how is the Shastra going to reveal to me something that words cannot reveal? Shastra says, if it was something that was completely unknown to you, then I cannot reveal it to you, because nobody can. But what the Shastra and what Shankaracharya specifically talk about, even in the opening of the Brahma Sutra, he talks about adhyasa. Adhyasa is what? Adhyasa is superimposition. Superimposition of one concept on another concept, on another understanding. What he's saying is that when you say, I am fat, I am hungry, I am tired, he's saying you're taking the idea of tiredness and superimposing it upon I. And he says it doesn't cover, it cannot. But that adhyasa is happening. And that mistaken notion that I am hungry, I am fat, I am thin, I am Indian, all of that adhyasa is happening. It's like the snake that is superimposed upon the rope in darkness. It's not really there, and the adhyasa never really happens, but it's an incorrect conclusion that has been arrived at due to a lack of understanding. As soon as I switch on the light, you'll say, there is no snake here, there never was a snake here. Or you could say that the snake has disappeared into the rope. No, there was no snake there. First of all, there's so many ways to say what exactly we're trying to say. But the bottom line is that we're saying that adhyasa had happened. There was an ignorance about the true nature of the rope. And because of that ignorance of the true nature of the rope, it was mistaken to be snake. So what the Shastra is saying to us is that it's not like you don't know Atma. You don't know yourself. It's not like you know yourself properly either. There is a superimposition. There's a jumbling that has happened because of the way human beings are, because of our own inherent, the ignorance that we are born. Avidya, that's what they refer to it. Avidya that comes along with the human birth, it has been superimposed.
Professor, like I can visualize how a mind knows something, you know. But here you said that I will know myself. So what is that I which is trying to know what?
Correct.
So
So
yeah, you get it.
there is no the content of the I will always be Atma. But there is a jiva too, right? The jiva
Yeah.
is also going to be, the jiva does not disappear.
Yeah.
As soon as the knowledge of Brahman happens, if the jiva disappears, then we would be looking at infinity war, right? They snap his fingers
Yeah.
and half of the world got Brahma again, they disappeared. What happened to these people? They just dissipated and went away. No, it's not like that.
It was a spoiler actually.
If they have not, sorry, spoilers. It's not like that because the jiva continues. And we've talked about that the mind has different functions and the ahankara is one of it. The ahankara is the I maker, the person who identifies himself. I am this and this. That person disappears in time. That person goes to sleep, that person goes into deep sleep and is dissolved. But the Atma continues. And that individual ahankara can understand and can verbalize, but they're not ever going to be. Do you understand that it's content? It's
just
woven
to,
from the
just,
fabric
it's
of
just to like satisfy the ahankara. Like, hey, just chill. You are already infinite, so don't worry. Like
Is it,
whatever.
so if it was just a chill pill, then it won't work because we're very inquisitive.
Yeah.
We're going to see past it and say
Our
that
mind
doesn't-
is always.
Yeah, it will come to the end of it. If it was not true, in fact, the next verse will actually address your
Remember
question.
that, like,
Yeah.
It's maybe relevant for student also. We ask this nowadays.
Okay.
So avidya comes, is it that humans are the same, so because of the avidya, it's there. And many times you have quoted that children know this, children have no problem regarding, they know the truth and they don't have very high ahankara in a very early stage. So should we, like, if every child is taught right from the beginning, and some steps have been taken, so is it going to be easier for human heart to understand these things?
I think so. I think the whole Vedic tradition was set up in such
Yeah.
a way so that children, as they
Guru
grow
Shishya
up, would
Parampara.
understand. So they're revealed, Shastra and the Vedas are revealed to them when they're children, but less than the age of.
Then it's easier to understand?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's really helpful. In fact, the very fact that you are all studying it now makes you so well prepared for the rest of your life.
It is like it will prepare a basis function for your mind,
Because
how
if you try coming
yeah.
back to it 50 years from now, you can try starting this journey 50 years ago, your faculties will not all quite be there. Some of you may be well blessed to continue the process of inquiry, but as you live life, you will realize that the questioning nature, the doubting nature, the ability to analyze things, the ability to understand sort of degrades because you're not using those abilities on a day-to-day basis. You're just doing your work and maintaining your family, and so it sort of goes down a little bit. It's better to actually be exposed to it earlier.
So our personality is made by our habits.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're a salesperson for the next 25 years, it's going to be a little bit,
Yeah.
it's going to have to rewire your brain a little bit. And you can do it. It's not a big deal. It can definitely be done unless you have invested your whole personality into being a sales guy. Now your personality is going to be in your way because it's not going to let you rewire. It's going to say, if you rewire, I'm lost. And you have invested so much in making this personality up, it'd be very hard to say, okay, I'm gonna. That personality is gonna fight that, and it's gonna say, no, whatever you're listening to, that's not right. Listen to me. I'm gonna tell you that this is something else. So Shraddha is faith. Or Shraddha, I should say, is not a blind faith, but Shraddha is pending discovery. I have an understanding that the Shastra and the Guru Vakya is going to reveal to me the nature of Atma and the nature of Atma.
So this revelation is going to happen for the mind.
This revelation is going to happen to the person studying.
Yeah, for the mind.
Absolutely.
So how is it going to console the mind? As you said that the mind is all unstable.
Correct.
Like,
It's a fair question. So you have to understand the psychology of the jiva, right? So what you're referring to, mind, you're referring to it as a collective. You're referring to it as a collective, whereas we've talked about it in the past, that the jiva's antakarana consists of the manas, the buddhi, the chitta, and the ahankara. The manas is just a property of the mind. It's a function. It never goes away. It will feel happy. It will feel sad. It is the one that understands that this thing is sweet. It is the one that understands that this thing is salty. And it's the one that says, I don't like. I prefer sweet over salt. It's the sensor that touches things and gives you that stimulation. The buddhi is the one which assimilates it and says, this is called sweet. It is the one that says, it's the word that is
Okay.
I've associated with it. The chitta is the collection of past experiences. And the ahankara is the one standing in the middle saying, I think that I like sweets and I should be given some because I'm a really good guy. He's taken 10 different thoughts, collected it around themselves and said, this is my world vision. That I'm a good guy and I should
It
be
looks
given
like
sweets.
Ahankara is the master of all these things. Chitta.
So you remember the story of the god of the Devatas, Indra?
Yeah. No, I know him, but yeah, I don't know him, but yeah, I know who he is.
So some of these tales are allegorical, some are not. But if you look at it from an allegorical perspective, Indra is the Ankara, is the king of the gods.
He's the king of senses. Yeah.
He's in the middle, sitting right in the middle, saying, "This is mine. This
Yeah.
is my.
Yeah.
This is all mine."
Yeah, actually, all of his actions like resemble Ahankara.
So in the stories, and so when the person, so the stories go, the allegorical stories go that the rishi is getting closer and closer to Brahmagyan, and then Indra Singhasan is like, I'm going to lose. That's
Yeah,
right. I
then he
told you
sends
that
Apsaras.
the personality is getting in the middle now of understanding. The personality has come because it's saying, I'm going to lose all this because this person is going to understand that I'm not real.
Yeah.
That I'm not the reality. The reality of the universe is that Satchidananda Atma. So it's a story.
Yeah,
So these
this
are
symbolism
stories.
is so.
And now you will
fitting.
understand.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of
Wow.
it. The stories in the Puranas will suddenly start making sense. And you'll understand why the rishis wrote them. They were trying to tell you a story that you would appreciate as a common person what exactly is
Yeah,
being taught.
a common person will understand these abstract concepts.
Devdas story or what the story of Devdas we're talking about Indra? I missed that. Well, I don't know that story.
There are so many, there are not one, there is many stories.
Indra. What Indra represent?
Yeah,
The ego.
that I got. I thought you were talking about one specific story.
There are many stories, for example, even in the story of Vishwamitra, this is there, right? He's doing nididhyasana on the shastras, and then Indraji says, now my throne is shaking here.
And
So
he
he will
sends
go
a
to
apsara.
Brahmaji and say, this guy is doing too much tapas, he's going to get close to. What does it mean that he's going to dethrone? I always thought, what does it mean? That person was never trying to be the king of the Devatas. That person was just doing their own
His
tapas.
relevance will go.
Yeah. The exposed is the reality of the Ahankara, and what shines through is the reality of Brahman. And they're getting closer and closer.
So our Ahankara is afraid that.
So when you ask the question, who is going to understand this?
Yeah.
So clearly, the mind is a functioning entity. It does what it does.
Yeah.
The buddhi is the interpreting, the discriminative faculty. That too does what it does. If I teach you a language, you understand it. Your buddhi will work on the language and it will interpret the meaning. The one who's sitting in the middle, the ahankara, is the one who's saying, I am this and I am that, and I've understood this and I've understood that.
This
That's
buddhi
the
is mind,
person who is actually also studying the Shastra. And it is being revealed to them what exactly is the true nature of the self. For them to understand, okay, so I see now that which has become the universe has pervaded me through and through. And which part of me is it that comes closest to it? And that's where we talk about the fact that even the ahankara is an object. Because when I say I am this, that this is an object. And I am aware of it. While I'm saying I am this, I'm aware of it. And that means that that's mithya. And what is satyam is the one that is revealing it and the awareness behind it.
So, Professor, if you
Yes.
Yeah, I think in this context, like, it may be relevant to comment on this. Like, I think it was by German philosopher, like Arthur Schopenhauer. He said, like, I think, therefore I am.
Cogito ergo sum. That's the words of one of my French philosopher by the name of Descartes. He says, I think, therefore I am. And it's actually the other way around. Because when I stop thinking, I shouldn't be there. Right? So if I go to sleep, I disappear. How does that work? So the converse is not true. I think, therefore I am. So there are different ways to understand.
There, that I was maybe relevant to ahankara.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
What he was referring to is, I think the ahankara is saying, I have the ability to think. But the amness has been superimposed. This what is called adhyasa, or superimposition of one thing that is completely not like it upon something else. So something that is nothing like anything has been superimposed with an object. How can you superimpose an object with attributes on something which is a subject that has no attributes. That does not make any sense. I can confuse a shirt for a pant, but how am I going to confuse something that has no attributes whatsoever with something that has attributes? And the answer to that is, well, is the sky blue? Yeah, the sky is blue. No, blueness has been superimposed on what is referred to as sky. Blueness has got nothing to do with the sky, but it has been superimposed upon it.
Yeah, we superimposed.
We superimposed it upon it and we said that the sky is blue. Wait a minute. This adhyasa happens. This is a lack of clear understanding of what is blueness and what is the sky. When I'm understanding what is blueness and what is the sky, I may still say that the sky is very beautiful and blue today. But if you ask me, what do you really mean by that? I'll look at you in your eyes and I'll say, what do you want to know? How far do you want to go?
Because it can happen in the future that people may start calling blue color as sky. This is sky.
Yeah.
The color.
So
Yeah.
what we're saying is, in order to understand this adhyasa happens where, and the reason for this adhyasa is that there is no clarity yet on what is the nature of Atma and what is the nature of Anatma. If the issue is confusion, then the solution has to be knowledge. There is no other work that you can do to fix a confusion. Is how many karmas can you do to remove an error in your thought process? How many fasts and tapasya can you do in order to fix an incorrect understanding?
There is no answer.
How many mantra japas can you do? How many nirvikalpa samadhis can you take in order to understand that the issue was adhyasa? I understood something incorrectly. And so Shankaracharya says, wait a minute. Shraddha that the Shastra is going to reveal to me what is true, and I will study till I understand it, because the error was in, the confusion was in my mind about two things that I never understood properly. Atma and Anatma, I did not understand them properly. If I had understood them properly, I wouldn't have done this adhyasa and I wouldn't have had this confusion. What is the issue with this confusion? So you say, okay, so what's the big deal with this confusion? The issue with this confusion is that you're going to be having sorrow because you're going to say, I am limited and I am finite. The whole purpose of this was freedom from a sense of limitation. That's why we arrived at this text. We wouldn't come at this text. The subject matter of this text is not siddhis. The subject matter of this text is not, you could say, devotion of a different type. The subject matter of this text is only an understanding of the self. And that's how we ended up on this text. So he's saying, okay, so you must first acknowledge the fact that there is a confusion that has happened here. And if that confusion has happened, the only way to fix it is to understand. And how do I explain something to someone? With the help of words. I need to give you words that will help you understand. Sort the two things out. What is sorting? I'll be able to distinguish this is one table, this is not a table. This is called Vivek. The true meaning of the word Vivek is the ability to separate between two things. This is not this and this is this. The name of the textbook is Vivekachudamuni. He says, I'm going to give you the ability to discriminate between what is Atma and what is Anatma. And as they become clear to you, the adhyasa will go away. And you're not going to get to know something that you've never known. You've already known it. It's already been you. You'll be able to understand Anatma better. What is that line? What is that line will become clear to you. There is no magic here. There is study and there is understanding. So Shraddha, from our perspective, when you talk about Shraddha, when you talk about faith, if someone asks you, what is your faith? My faith is that if I study the scripture, I will come to an understanding of Atma and Anatma with clarity. And until that clarity is present, I'll continue to study. That's the subject matter.
Professor, why would my Ahankara want to admit defeat to Brahman?
Why would it want to? It's a fair. It's an interesting question because it has sorrow. If the Ahankara was always intoxicated and always happy, it wouldn't even be here at this text. But it has already understood its finitude. Its sense of limitation is inborn. As soon as the Ahankara becomes aware of itself, it will say, I am limited. I am finite. I am not complete. There is a hole in my heart and I want to fill it. I will fill it with the whole world and it will still be empty because I have not yet fully understood my true nature. When I understand my true nature, those holes are plugged because I understand the perspective, the subject and the object, the drik and the drishya. There is viveka between two. What is seen as an object and who is the seer. And that seer does not have any holes in them. That seer is Purnam. That seer is Purnam. Purnam does not mean they're infinite. Purnam means they are complete. They are whole. And from that Purnam, this Purnam seems to have emerged. So that's the shloka that goes Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Right? So that's the subject matter. And so from the perspective of where we are, we said that Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, then came the big one, Shraddha. But Shraddha has to be understood. It's not blind faith. It is not blind faith in anything or any concept or any axiom. It is faith in the understanding that if I study the scripture, revealed will be the true nature of Atma and Brahman to me. I will be able to discriminate between what is Atma and what is Anatma. And to the point I can't discriminate it, I'll study it till I fully understand. Sa Shraddha Kathita Sadbihi Yaya Vastu Labhate. So they're saying by having Shraddha, you will have, it is the path to gaining Vastu. Vastu is the Sad Vastu that we've talked about before. It's an important property of the, or important value that we need to have. And if you read the discussion, it talks about Shabda Pramana. Someday I'll do a much longer discussion on Shabda Pramana, perhaps not today. So verse 16 says, oh, maybe we'll save it for next time because it's 7:10 and I promised my family I'll be back in time. It's going to talk about samadhana. And what samadhana, it says, there's an interesting part here. I'll leave it for you to reflect on over the week. It says, verse 16 says, sarvada, that means always, sthapanam, established, buddhehe, the intelligence, shuddhe brahmani sarvada, in the purity of Brahman itself. So having established the mind in your study of or understanding of what it is that the Shastra is revealing as Atman and Brahman. Tat samadhan iti yuktam. That is referred to as samadhan. So again, bringing your focus back to having your attention upon what is being talked about. It says, na tu chittasya lalanam, which means not, literally means entertainment of the mind. So he's saying having your intelligence focused upon the understanding of Brahman, but not in chittasya lalanam. It's not, lalanam is you literally put a kid to sleep. It's not for, it's not supposed to be something that is, so that's what verse 16 is going to talk about. It's going to talk about samadhana. We'll talk a little bit more about this chittasya lalanam. It's saying do not, self-complacency is not samadhana. Samadhan, sometimes people can be, oh, I'm very happy, I'm very satisfied with myself. I don't
okay, yeah. Just
Not-
act like that and
and say that, oh, okay, I don't need to discover, I don't have any issues. I'm fine. It's not that. It's saying sarvada sthapanam buddhe shuddhe brahmani sarvata. So focus on the understanding of Brahman. In fact, the correct translation is the placing of the mind always and in every manner in Brahman, which is pure, is said as samadhan. If I can do that, I've kind of completed the study, right? A lot of these values are such that the first one was what? Atma, Anatma, Viveka. If I could fully do Atma, Anatma, Viveka, then I would have finished this subject matter. The values continue because they are part of the process of understanding what it is that we're talking about. So for homework this week, what I want you to actually think about, I really do want you to think about faith, I want you to think about belief, and I want you to think about Shraddha, because they are interesting ideas for you to explore on your own. What exactly is Shraddha to you? What exactly is faith? Because you'll find yourself having some interesting experiences on what it is that you have faith in, what you have beliefs in. And then there are different traditions that talk about faith, there are different traditions that talk about belief. And In Vedanta, the orientation and the understanding of Shraddha is a little bit different. It's to me, it seems like something that works very well for my understanding, but you've got to understand what Shraddha is being talked about. So we're getting to the point where all the values are getting listed. So we're getting to the end of this, and we're going to start studying actually the Shastra in a few verses. Yeah.
You're saying that so the mind understands that. So what I understood here, what you're trying to be saying that um, Ahankara knows that I have a limitation, and so then the person comes to study Vedanta, that wants to understand that no, actually I'm not limited. I'm not limited. But then this is saying that if someone has been able to bring his mind at peace with this limitation, then that should not be the case. It should still try to understand what the
Yes, definitely.
But the thing is, for the practical human life, if one has made peace with limitations, it just does not bother.
That's not possible.
So
Because
you're saying it is bothering in one or the other way.
absolutely. And what is happening is that a lalanam is happening, an acknowledgement of the reality of the situation is being forced upon.
Bothering how? How do you know bothering? If it's not at all, so you're saying that what person is experiencing as pleasantness, by saying that my limitation doesn't bother me,
Correct.
is not the true pleasant.
Yeah, because
You
all
experience even more.
so the human experience is not a constant. Tomorrow you have illness, you will make peace with it and say, yes, I'm ill. That's okay. Doesn't bother me at all. Yeah? Does that seem real or fake to you?
No, it bothers in a way that this illness has come, but the person is not frustrated. Oh my God, now everything is going to change. I'm so worried. Why did this happen to me? What did it not happen to anyone else? What did I do yesterday that I'm stupid? I should not have done 2 bottles of cold drinks just so that I'm so ill today, or something like that. Okay, I'm ill. All right, I have to take these medicines and stuff, and this body's going to get fixed.
Yeah.
And
So you're coming up with a hypothetical situation
No, but
where you
it
are
happens
coming.
a lot-
Have you met people like that who have absolutely no issues whatsoever with their human condition?
I don't know. I have met with the people that they have very. So when you're saying this term very, so I'm now not very confident to answer it. Absolutely no.
If
I
they're
know-
put to some
I know
concentration
people
camp,
that-
then they'll know pain, and then
Like many of those who just does not, with their life conditions, they have. I haven't seen them having a lot of issues. They're like fine, okay.
And a lot of issues. So this is a hypothetical situation that you're creating with saying, okay, there is a person, there's a hypothetical person who has no issues whatsoever and has no interest in knowing about the self. Correct? They're saying, I don't really care about this Atman Brahman stuff. I don't really care. I know that I'm limited, and that's fine. This is my limited life, and I'm absolutely fine with it.
Yeah.
I've got no issues whatsoever. I would ask you, why is this person studying Vedanta?
Not necessarily.
It's not studying. It's not for them.
Yes, it's not.
It's not for them because the subject matter opens with if you have come here.
that curiosity. Then
If you have come here, then I will talk to you. As I said, Krishna could have taught the Gita to every single human walking on the planet.
So
He did not.
There are people who can come at peace with their limitations, and they're totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have no issues with it,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. This is not a situation where you gotta go and tell people, hey, by the
You
way,
can't force
did you know
anyone.
that you're limited?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be happy. Yeah? You go find people who are completely satisfied with themselves and be like, no, Mr. A, Mr. and Mrs. A, I've got news for you. You are in very bad shape.
That's what I'm saying. Physics don't look like this only.
They're like missionaries,
Yeah,
That's
but-
what physics look like, right? That if some person is okay, then no.
This is for the
Then
student.
Atma.
So it is not for this. It is for the student, right? The student who's on their path of discovery. To them, it's being said, "Natu chittasya lalanam." It's not an entertainment of the mind. You have to really remain focused in your understanding of Brahman. Now, if you choose to go around telling people who are happy, "Hey, listen, man, it's your 50th birthday. I got news for you. You are not going to be. You're not going to make. This is not going to go." They won't talk to you. इसको बाहर निकालो. ये पार्टी खराब करने आया है. And the thing is, that's the interesting part is that you don't have the Shastra does not have legs. And it does it go around pursuing people. Hey, mereko padho na. You have to read me, remember me? The Shastra is sitting in one spot. It's like, okay, you want to study, you study. You don't want to study, you don't study. It's entirely up to you. You don't have to chase anyone down with the Shastra. And if you look at the lives of all the great saints, none of them ever went out. Proselytizing is the word. Proselytizing is going to other people, talking about your faith.
But Vivekananda did that.
Vivekananda did do that to a certain extent, but not forcibly. So Vivekananda went
didn't
about
force anyone.
telling people about, no, he was telling people about his own faith. He was not telling people that you should come
Yeah,
over.
yeah. He wasn't telling them just change your faith and come to me.
That
Yeah.
that was
No,
not the
but
approach.
Vivekananda was one of the goals Vivekananda also Bhagavad Nivedita.
Yeah.
He also requested Bhagavad Nivedita to help write that. To spread this message.
Spread the message that there is something here.
Yeah.
So spread the
Just let
message
them know
saying
that there
okay,
exists.
you are happy, but see,
There is
actually,
something.
actually there is a better happiness.
And there are not too many like that, right? There are not too many like that who've gone about telling people. There are some. You can join the art of living, I guess. There are some, but this is not common. Because if you look at the life of Rama, who did Rama go around? He could have caught Ravana and be like, wait, first of all, let's talk about. Ravana will say, what do you mean? No, let's first sit down and do Shastrarth. The correct.
But Ravan already-
No, usko, there is a term for it, Shastrarth. Right?
He was already good at that.
Yeah, he was very good at that. He was very good at that. Shastrarth is where you two scholars sit down and they discuss the true meaning of what the Shastra is revealing to you. The Shastra doesn't have legs. It doesn't go about trying to tell people, hey, come on, man, just in case you were happy, I'm here to tell you you're not.
Yeah, for the Ravana's case, even after knowing the Shastra, he knew that Shastra well, but still he like did
It's a
bad
very
stuff.
good question. It's a very good question. And the actions of Ravana reveal that he was not yet fully understood Brahman, because it would not be possible.
But he thought he understood it.
He thought he
So
did.
then my question exists, right? My question for the first sloka was this, that people might think that they have understood and they have not understood. But then you said that once you understand it rightly, then only you will think that you have understood. So now if Rama
Yeah, so just hope that they are not in power.
Yes, but then this can happen that I can misunderstand and think that I have understood.
I think it's definitely possible. The question is, who is listening to them? Because if you are spreading something that is
It's not about spreading, even for the personal study.
Even for the personal study.
The person can think that, okay, I've done, I'm right, all right, I've understood now.
No,
That's why we need
it is not
gurus.
possible, because as long as you have got the slightest bit of
So
confusion
that's what
about
happens now.
it, so that's what I'm saying. Self-delusion. So what's happening here is that, was Ravana truly happy or was he sorrowful?
He was sorrowful, actually.
And did he not know that?
He knew. That's why he was trying to gain everything.
Yeah. And if he knew that, he knows that he is not yet arrived at that point where he has been able to see
Yeah, he wasn't feeling
happiness and
satisfied.
sorrow for what they
kind of
truly
thing.
are. Which means that if he says, I got it, he was lying. Because he himself, the last person you can lie to is yourself. The only person that you can never lie to is yourself. But if you lie to yourself, yeah, that's the end of it. There's going to be no clarity on this topic for you.
Yeah.
Because the subject matter has again been confused. That adhyasa has happened.
A person is super ahankari only if he's feeling insecure. Right?
Yes, absolutely. If they're feeling insecure and they're trying to compensate for something, they're trying to fill a hole.
So that's the reason, like, this fundamental come that sadhus and all, they don't care about anything. Basically, they don't care about anything.
They don't meddle in the.
properties
Yeah.
Or anything.
It's very interesting. There are some
Working.
very interesting verses coming up where we'll have even more discussion. You'll come across the definition of guru in a few. In verse 34, 35, they're going to talk about the guru. They're going to talk about some very interesting qualities. We'll talk about it when we get there. If we open it now, we'll be here for a long time. But they'll talk about the attitudes of the student. They'll talk about the attitudes of the teacher. Most importantly, I think if there is one thing you want to take away from today's class, is you want to understand what Shraddha, faith or belief mean within the context of Veda within the context of what Shankaracharya is talking about within the context of Hindu. And it is never a blind belief, it is never a blind faith. It is Shraddha in the Shastra and Guru Vakya to reveal the nature of the self. If the Shastra were to say that this phone is white, that wouldn't work.
And then under there is a star.
So Shastra is going to say, so the understanding of the Shraddha is that as long as the Shastra is talking about Atma and Brahman, about the knowledge and the Viveka between Atma and Anatma, it is revealing the truth. And so for anything to gain the status of Shastra is very difficult. Shruti is the official Shastra. Shruti is that which has been heard, which means the Veda. Only the Veda and only the Upanishads have the status of that. Now there are other derived texts from it, such as Gita, which have obtained or are given the same status as Shastra. As long as a given text is completely aligned with what the Shastra is revealing, it's okay. It's a Prakarana Granth, which means that it contains the same subject matter. Like Vivekachudamuni. We are not studying Veda directly, if you do realize. We're not studying the Veda because we're not studying the Upanishads yet. We are studying a Prakarana Granth. We are studying one that is related to it. And as long as it is consistent with the Veda, as long as it is consistent with that Atmagyan, I have faith in it. As soon as it deviates from it, it's not okay. So even the Smritis, even the Puranas, as long as they are in line with what is being talked about, it's going to be okay. So that's the portion that I want you to reflect upon as the what exactly is Shraddha to you. And I don't think it will be something that you will arrive at a conclusion very quickly. You need to delve upon it and think about what all you have faith in and why. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do the Shanti part now.
Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these are Smritis.
All of them are Smritis. Puranas are Smritis. The Shruti is only the Veda and the Upanishads which are contained inside the Veda. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we did only one verse today. We were very slow. But Shraddha is a big topic. What can you do? It takes a little while to.
Because our word definitions aren't correct, so
that's the issue. And that's why we did Tattva Bodha first. We have already come across this word Shraddha because the Sham Adi Shatak Sampati, we talked about it when we did Tattva Bodha. So if you dig up the old lecture on